night was a home run derby. If you would have listened to me yesterday, you might have won yourself a couple bucks last night. We'll get to that. Plus, we have a very cool interview today for you. Obviously, this is the kind of week to have, some conversations about things that are different. We will get into the James Harden stuff a little bit later this hour, but want to let you guys know coming up in about 20 minutes from now, we will be joined by director Chris Dillon of the new Wilt Chamberlain documentary coming out on Showtime this week. Now, the 3-part documentary debuts on Friday on Showtime. It's called Goliath, the complete story of Wilt Chamberlain. So we will talk with Chris Dillon coming up in less than 20 minutes from now about that documentary. As always, you could join the conversation at 609-403-0973. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. So we got a few different things to get to this hour. I want to get to the James Harden news first because, and it's not the kind of news that is like breaking news, flashing lights kind of breaking news. But it's the kind of news that definitely makes you think a little bit. So as of 6:03 on July 11th, we have no real change in progress when it comes to the James Harden situation. Okay? James Harden is still a 76er. But James Harden would still like to be traded. That's what we know, right? Well, Ramona Shelburne was asked this about James Harden. And I want you to listen carefully to what Shelburne says. Because Ramona Shelburne, she's more than an NBA reporter. She is somebody who also has a long history of being very accurate in her reporting about the Sixers. She has gotten everything right over the years about Embiid, everything right about multiple different things in Philadelphia. So she is connected to Philadelphia for a national person as well as anybody on earth. Listen to what she says. Because she was asked today on NBA Today on ESPN TV, is there any updates? What is going on with the James Harden situation, him being traded from Philadelphia?
I don't think they're close on anything. Now, James Harden has spoken to Daryl Morey since the first trade request. And, I think there was some cooling off time period had gone. Okay, let's let this lie and see how things play out. And he's spoken again, and he still reiterated he wants to be traded. This isn't a demand, it's a request. And I think the Sixers have said, okay, we will try to trade you, but there is no hurry to do this. And I think the Sixers understand here that they have the leverage here. I mean, James has picked up his option. This is an opt-in to a contract, and he's going to be a free agent after this season. And so at some point, he needs to play, whether that's in Philadelphia or elsewhere.
So 2 major points for me that took away from what she said there. Number 1, she said that this was a request and not a demand. In other words, Harden is not anti-playing in Philadelphia. Harden is not wanting to play with Joel Embiid. Remember, Joel Embiid said in the audio we played yesterday that him and Harden are boys, that they're friends for life. So Harden is not, hey, I never want to play with Embiid again. I never want to be in Philadelphia. This is not like when he was in Houston where he looked around and he said, I want to be here. I like the situation. You guys going through a rebuild and you're expecting me to fall in line with something I don't want to be a part of. Okay? Harden is telling you, I would like a different situation, but I'm not anti my current situation. And what I personally read into that is what Harden is saying is that he doesn't like his current circumstances, but he doesn't hate his current circumstances. Now, what that means for Harden's long-term tradability doesn't mean that it is impossible for him to come back next year. This is the biggest part of the offseason that I have heard and read that suggests that James Harden could be back. And I know some Sixer fans right now listening on 97.3 ESPN FM, listening on 97.3 ESPN mobile app, you're rolling your eyes. You're disgusted with this. You do not like this news. But you look at Harden and you realize, well, wait a minute. If the worst case scenario is we get a guy back who scored 40 points in 2 playoff games and led the league in assists, it's not the end of the world. Look, even someone like me who's been accused of hating James Harden, even I understand that Harden is not the problem with the Sixers entirely, okay? Even though he deserves responsibility in part for the Sixers losing that series to Boston, it wasn't all on him. As Nick Nurse told the Hoop Collective podcast a couple weeks ago, James Harden, you got to have the players around him step up too. James Harden went through a similar circumstances in Houston when the Rockets had the historically worst shooting night in NBA playoff history when they couldn't make a three, it seemed like, all night. Harden's teammates were not making shots. They had a chance to beat the Warriors. They couldn't do it. Warriors go on to the NBA Finals. You have to wonder, is there a part of Harden that looks at the 76ers as a team and says, if certain guys would have stepped up, that playoff series would have been different? Now, I don't think that's the reason why Harden's asking to be traded. Again, it's a request and not a demand, as Ramona Shelburne is reporting from ESPN. The other part of it that's interesting is she talks about how the Sixers have all the leverage, how the Sixers don't have to trade Harden, and they're not going to trade him for nothing. They're not going to trade him for pennies on the dollar. They're going to get the most they can for him if they are going to trade him. And I think part of the problem with this situation on a larger scale is the fact that Harden is the kind of player that because you don't hear from him in the same way you hear from someone like Draymond Green or a Jimmy Butler or a Kyrie Irving or fill in the blank player, Paul George has his own podcast, right? He's not one of the players who goes around and tries to be heard all the time. And because he's not that kind of player, we don't really know what he really wants. We don't really know what's important to him at this point. But what we do know is he doesn't hate it in Philadelphia. He's not another guy trying to get out of town. I think it's a very interesting layer to the conversation about Harden. Because if James Harden doesn't get traded and he's back next year, how do Sixer fans react to that? I think some Sixer fans will hate it. I think some Sixer fans will be indifferent to it. But I don't know a ton of Sixer fans are going to be happy with it. And I think that is where, for the 76ers organization, maybe that is the real reason why they have to consider trading Harden. Because at the end of the day, the Sixers are as popular, or basically the peak of their popularity they've been in recent years. That building is sold out for every game. The regular season, there are people in the seats. The crowd is loud. There's energy. It is a rocking place to be. It wasn't that way over 10 years ago. It wasn't that way in years past. Outside of the Allen Iverson years, before Allen Iverson, the last time the place was consistently stacked, Charles Barkley was here. And at this point in time, if you bring Harden back and you just say run it back with the team you had last year, except for you swapped out George Niang for Mo Bamba and you swapped out Shake Milton for Pat Beverly, I don't know how Sixer fans are going to feel like that. Are Sixer fans going to be a little more disinterested and a little less engaged than they were last year because they look at this team and they say, you didn't give me a reason to get excited. You didn't give me a reason to run down to the center and get tickets and show up for games. It's not James Harden's fault, but it's starting to feel like James Harden might be just in a no-win situation. And like I said, it's starting to look like there is a real possibility that James Harden is in a Sixers uniform on opening night for Philadelphia. Josh Hennick hanging out with you here on Game Night 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973. That is the text board. Shaner chimes in on the text board, says, any hope for Dame Lillard? Would you rather have him? Any other options at all? Shaner and EHT. Shaner, a couple things. One, I hate to make you more sad than you already are, but it looks like the Damian Lillard of the Sixers is pretty much DOA right now. There is conflicting reports out there about what exactly is going on with the Lillard situation. If you believe the Woj reporting on ESPN Plus behind their paywall, Dame Lillard only wants to go to the Miami Heat and nowhere else. If you listen to the Blazers GM, he says that the team is still looking for a trade and they're not in any hurry to make one. If you believe Dame Lillard, nobody knows what's going on and we all should stop talking about him. And other reporting says that Dame Lillard has a really good relationship with Jason Tatum and that landing in Boston would not be against Lillard's interest. So it sounds very much like Lillard is not coming to Philadelphia. Would I rather have Lillard over Harden? Of course I would. I think that would be a better match for Joel Embiid and the style of play that Nick Nurse wants to play. But at the end of the day, I don't think Lillard's coming here. I've kind of resigned myself to that. Any other options at all? I think there are options, as I mentioned here on Game Night in the past. I could see a scenario where the Sixers trade Harden to the Clippers, take the Clippers' assets, send it to Toronto, and get Pascal Siakam. Or the Sixers could get a 4-team deal going, and they send some assets and contracts to the Jazz, Harden to the Clippers, and then potentially get a couple other teams involved to get different parts from different teams, like Zach LaVine, for example. But at the end of the day, if you replace Harden with Zach LaVine, what does that mean? Well, Zach LaVine and Tyrese Maxey apparently have the same agent. Maybe that's something, right? But does Zach LaVine change your team that much to make you better than you were last year? I don't know if it does. Is Pascal Siakam enough of an upgrade for this team to get out of the second round without Harden? I'm not sure. And Shane, I think that's the larger problem. There are other options, but I don't know if those options are that much better for you. All right, more your text messages a little bit later in the hour, 609-403-0973. That is the text board. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Speaking of the Sixers, coming up next, director Chris Dillon joins me about his new Wilt Chamberlain documentary on Showtime called Goliath. The complete story of Wilt Chamberlain debuts this Friday on Showtime Sports. We'll talk with him about Wilt Chamberlain next here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
Here's what you missed on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
It's not to say that it hasn't worked, because they're a lot better now than when the whole process became known to everybody with Sam Hinkie and everybody else. They said, trust the process. Joel Embiid is going to be the center point.
That became his nickname.
Exactly, yeah, and he lived up to it. I'm not leaning into hot sauce, but he leaned into the process because he knew it was either going to rise or fall based on his success, based on if he had failure with the Philadelphia 76ers. So I'm with you in terms of that, with the organization failing him, and yeah, there has to be accountability. But maybe we should have seen this coming, because that's what desperate organizations do. When they want to matter, they feel they have to matter. They want to matter sooner than later, and they have the process, but then they don't take time to see it through.
97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
At the Home Depot, we'll get your kitchen clicking with savings on top brand appliances like a new LG CounterDepth Max refrigerator with ultra-large capacity on the inside and a seamless look on the outside. Or an LG oven with built-in air fryer for crispier, healthier cooking. Plus, with convenient shopping in-store and online at the Home Depot, your innovative new appliances are just a click away, too. Final days to get special buy savings plus up to $1,000 off select kitchen appliances like this exclusive LG kitchen package at the Home Depot. Ends July 12th.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Why pay retail or over MSRP for a new vehicle? Get to Matt Blatt Nissan and take $9,000 off any 2023 Nissan Armada, Harrier, or Titan in stock. Or put 0 down, pay 0% financing, and make 0 payments for 90 days on every Matt Blatt Nissan Rogue in stock. Plus, if you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released, no matter the make, model, or mileage. Then drive home in your new Nissan Rogue with 0 down and 0% financing, or 0 payments for 90 days on every Nissan Rogue for 36 months, even 0% for 60 months. And of course, the Matt Blatt Nissan Peace of Mind 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. On approved Tier 1 credit through NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag and $589 doc fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Hey, it's Gil. Experience a culinary journey like no other at Trio North Wildwood. Chef Gus Zimmerman creates mouth-watering dishes that showcase the freshest ingredients with something for everyone, including gluten-free options so that all can indulge in the wonderful cuisine. From their juicy pork chop to their savory crab shrimp cakes, every dish is prepared with care and precision. Book your table on Resi and experience the ultimate casual fine dining experience at Trio North Wildwood, 700 New Jersey Avenue, North Wildwood. Chef-driven, quality-focused, TrioNW.com.
Welcome to What If, the show where I, Jake from State Farm, answer your insurance what ifs. We've got a call from Millie. What's up?
Hi, Jake. What if, hypothetically, a moose gets mad at my car and rams into my windshield? Hypothetically.
Oh, just file a claim on the app. At State Farm, we're there for your what ifs.
Great, but what if the moose eats my phone? Hypothetically.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Go to nomoredraftywindows.com for full offer details.
Attention all homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? It's time to replace. Fog between the glass. Time to replace. Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's definitely time to replace. If you've put off replacing windows in your home because it's too expensive, here's great news. You can now get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen, the company with the most 5-star reviews among leading full-service window replacement companies. And right now, you can save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. Just text PLACE to 200-300 for your free consultation on top-quality, affordable windows and patio doors for $0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for a year. That's right. You don't pay a dime for an entire year. Plus, save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. But hurry, these big dollar savings end this month. Text PLACE to 200-300 right now. Text the word PLACE to 200-300. Don't wait. Text PLACE to 200-300.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. We've talked Sixers to start out the show, and right now we'll stick with Philadelphia because coming up on Showtime, debuting this Friday, is the new Showtime Sports Goliath, the complete story of Wilt Chamberlain And joining us right now to talk more about it is the director, Chris Dillon, as this will be a 3-part documentary. And we're glad to talk with him right now. Chris, welcome in. How you doing today? I appreciate you jumping on today. So, talk to me about the way for you, what led to this for you? What inspired you to want to get involved in this project? You mentioned Jerry West. There's a ton of people that you guys talked to with this documentary. Pat Riley, Rick Barry, Bill Walton, Lisa Leslie, Oscar Robertson, and more. Was there a person you spoke to that stood out to you maybe a little more than the rest? Because obviously those are some really big names, Chris. But, is there somebody, maybe their story or their, piece of the pie about Wilt that stood out to you the most? Chris, you just mentioned about how, there was never a Wilt before Wilt. And, for the title of this is Goliath. And for a lot of people, Goliath is not a positive term. It's for people a negative term. Was that done on purpose? Did you guys pick a title to maybe paint and say, hey, things were not all good and rosy and perfect for Wilt because he was viewed in a negative sense by certain groups of people?
Wilt, it really hurt him.
We're talking with director Chris Dillon. Of course, the new documentary is, of course, Goliath, the complete story of Wilt Chamberlain, debuts this Friday. It will be first on Paramount Plus, and then Showtime subscribers can first see it Sunday, July 16th at 10 p.m. Eastern, with episodes premiering each Sunday. And of course, Chris Dillon's appearance here on Game Night being brought to you on the Elite Acura Hotline. Chris, when you think about, because you mentioned about the villain part, it kind of reminds me of, for those who have watched the movie The Dark Knight, when Harvey Dent says you either die the hero or you see yourself long enough to become the villain. It was interesting because Wilt, I felt like, at least from I wasn't alive, obviously, in the 1960s, but for me, looking back on what I've heard and read, it felt like that, you saw the fact that the whole world, they made it harder for Wilt. They shortened the lane. They got rid of Donkey in college. They did all these things to hurt him. And it was like Wilt was never fully appreciated until after he was already done playing in some ways.
And you can watch that game play out.
Mm.
Like, oh, you're drawing a triple team. We should pass.
I know that part of the project was also you get it in conjunction with Kevin Garnett's Content Cartel. What is your takeaways from working with Kevin Garnett on this project? Because he himself was a bit of a unicorn.
I'm not allowed to say that on the radio, but I don't think there's another player in the history of the NBA, and it's an accident that.
Again, Showtime Sports presents Goliath, the complete story of Wilt Chamberlain. The 3-part documentary series debuts Friday, July 14th, first on Paramount Plus, and then Sunday, July 16th, 10 p.m. Eastern on Showtime, with each episode premiering each Sunday, 3-episode arc. We've been joined by director Chris Dillon. Chris, I appreciate you jumping on. I'm looking forward to seeing this. I'm also glad to know I still have my Showtime subscription, so I'll be able to get to see this with everybody else. Appreciate you jumping on today. And Chris's appearance here on Game Night has been brought to you on the Elite Acura hotline. Visit Elite Acura during the Summer Performance event located on Route 73 North in Mapleshade, online at eliteacura.com. Josh Hennick hanging out with you here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Some really great stuff there on the Wilt documentary. I think one of the biggest things I took away from talking with Chris there was, number one, he talked about the perception of Wilt in terms of, he was Goliath and Bill Russell was Chamberlain. And it's a credible example of, that's why I mentioned, the Dark Knight, when Harvey Dent, those of you who have watched the Dark Knight knows that Harvey Dent actually becomes the kind of, he's not a pure villain. Harvey Dent, his character becomes the villain that is born out of circumstance. He is not the actual primary antagonist of the main character in the story. And it kind of feels like maybe Wilt in some ways was like that as well, because really Wilt wasn't Goliath and Bill Russell was not David. Wilt Chamberlain was not even any part of that story. If you're going to use an analogy, Wilt Chamberlain was actually probably, as Chris Dillon said, the most misunderstood person, because he was so talented. He was so unique. He was a unicorn. He was practically an outcast. Not in the terms of no one wanted to play with him, not in terms of nobody liked him as a person, but because people tend to not like what they're not familiar with. They tend to have a negative attitude toward anyone or anything that is not what they recognize or they understand. And in some ways, if I'm going to make a historical analogy, I would make the analogy to Ulysses Grant. For those who don't know, Ulysses Grant, who was the general from the Civil War, became the U.S. president. He was never supposed to become what he became. People told him he was too short. People told him that he wasn't good enough. People told him all these different things. He didn't score very well in the military scoring at West Point. But Ulysses Grant had something special. When the firing started, he was stoic, he was resilient, and he's arguably one of the greatest generals in not just American history, but world history. And he was never supposed to be that guy because he didn't fit into the mold that the military infrastructure of the time had for him. He broke all the rules. He did everything you weren't supposed to do. Whether it was the Mexican-American War, whether it was the American Civil War, at the end of the day, he didn't follow the script. He didn't follow the narrative. He didn't look the part. He didn't act the part. He didn't play the part, but he was important in his role. And frankly, you could argue if it wasn't for Grant, the North doesn't win the Civil War. Slavery isn't abolished. And we're not standing here today talking about Wilt Chamberlain in the NBA. And the same goes with Wilt. You never saw anyone as athletic as Wilt was before. You never saw anyone who could do what Wilt did before. And as Chris Dillon mentioned, Wilt Chamberlain sacrificed to win championships. You know, people said that Wilt couldn't pass. The next year, he led the league in total assists. People said that he couldn't play on another team, another organization with another superstar like Jerry West. And him and Jerry West both sacrificed in order to win a championship. And by the way, Wilt won championships with both the Sixers and the Lakers. So he was the precursor to a lot of today's athletes who try to win multiple championships with multiple teams. Before Wilt and Kareem did it, no one ever did that before. You won a championship with one team and you stayed with that team. Even in the 1980s, Bird won all of his championships with the Celtics. Magic won all of his championships with the Lakers. Rick Barry won his championship with the Warriors. When Bill Walton won his second ring with the Celtics, he was a backup coming off the bench. He wasn't a star player anymore. But Wilt Chamberlain was the first guy who won a championship while still being a star with two different franchises. He paved the way for other players. He paved the way for a Kevin Garnett, as Chris Dillon mentioned, to leave Minnesota and go to Boston and win a championship. He paved the way for LeBron to win a championship in Miami and in Cleveland and with the Lakers. He paved the way for these guys who weren't just with one team their entire career. Shaquille O'Neal winning with the Lakers and with the Miami Heat. I can keep going on and on. Wilt was the precursor. And so I'm looking forward to this documentary. Again, it is this Friday, July 14th on Paramount Plus, Sunday, July 16th on Showtime. The documentary is called Goliath, the complete story of Wilt Chamberlain. All right, we'll get back to the text board on the other side. 609-403-0973 is the text board. A lot of basketball talk this hour. Get to more of that coming up on the other side. Josh Hennick hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN.
Today on ESPN Radio.
Wow! The other way for Corey Seager. That's some kind of power.
The 2023 Major League Baseball All-Star Game.
That one is gone. Mookie Betts with the home run.
The Midsummer Classic from Seattle, Washington.
Swing and a miss. Struck him out.
The 93rd Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Coverage begins today at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio. You can also listen on the ESPN app.
Listen to Major League Baseball on 97.3 ESPN.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply or play. Stop, opt out. Go to nomoredraftywindows.com for full offer details.
Attention all homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? It's time to replace. Fog between the glass. Time to replace. Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's definitely time to replace. If you've put off replacing windows in your home because it's too expensive, here's great news. You can now get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen, the company with the most 5-star reviews among leading full-service window replacement companies. And right now, you can save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. Just text PLACE to 200-300 for your free consultation on top-quality affordable windows or patio doors for $0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for a year. That's right. You don't pay a dime for an entire year. Plus, save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. But hurry, these big dollar savings end this month. Text PLACE to 200-300 right now. Text the word PLACE to 200-300. Don't wait. Text PLACE to 200-300.
Your luxury BMW experience is closer than you think. Take advantage of exceptional savings at BMW of Atlantic City. Stop in and shop your favorite models, including the new BMW 2 Series, X3, and more. We're sure to have a vehicle that fits your needs. And with Acceleride, purchase your vehicle online and we'll deliver it directly to you. Looking to trade? We'll pay top dollar for your current vehicle. Experience luxury today at BMW of Atlantic City, closer than you think, in Egg Harbor Township. Shop our complete inventory online at bmwatlanticcity.com.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Wendy's is open till midnight or later, so you can give in to the craving and go night mode. Now all of your favorite menu items just got their bedtime extended. You can get what you want even later, like the Baconator with 6 strips of bacon, or the perfect fries and frosty duo. If you're up later, then so are we. So go ahead and pull through the drive-thru. When the craving hits, go night mode at Wendy's. Open till midnight or later. All right, see ya later.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, hours may vary.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Valvoline Advanced can help your engine get more miles. Right now, buy a 5-quart jug and get a free STP Extended Life Oil Filter. That's right, free. Get started on your next job today with the parts you need, when you need them, at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be signs that your digestive system isn't working at its best? But taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil supports your daily digestive health using a special plant-based fiber called psyllium. Psyllium works by forming a gel in your digestive system to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Metamucil's gelling action also helps to promote heart health and slows down sugar absorption to promote healthy blood sugar levels. Start feeling lighter and more energetic by taking Metamucil every day.
At the Home Depot, we have laundry appliances that just fit your space, fit your needs, and fit your budget. Like a new GE Profile Ultra Fast Combo laundry machine that can wash and dry a large load in about 2 hours without you ever having to transfer the load over. Final days to get special buy savings like the GE Profile Ultra Fast Combo laundry machine, plus an extra $100 off select laundry sets. In-store and online at the Home Depot ends July 12th.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Why pay retail or over MSRP for a new vehicle? Go to Matt Blatt Nissan and take $9,000 off any 2023 Nissan Armada, Harrier, and make 0 payments for 90 days on every Matt Blatt Nissan Rogue in stock. Plus, if you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the trade man can get you released, no matter the make, model, or mileage. Then drive home in your new Nissan Rogue with 0 down and 0% financing, or 0 payments for 90 days on every Nissan Rogue for 36 months, even 0% for 60 months. And of course, the Matt Blatt Nissan Peace of Mind 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Only at MattBlattNissan.com. On approved Tier 1 credit through NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag and $589 doc fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Game Night being brought to you by Jenkins and Sons. One call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the air conditioner guy, or the plumbing guy. Whatever you need. Need the air conditioning, need drain cleaning services, just call Jenkins at 609-641-6440 and visit them online at jenkinsandsons.com. Chickens and technicians are trained to do it all. Whatever you need done in your home or small business, just call Jenkins. 609-641-6440. By the way, coming up in about 8 minutes from now, your final opportunity to qualify for the Phillies trip contest. We've been taking qualifiers. Today is the final day for the contest. So if you want to qualify for the Phillies trip, where you and a friend get to go out to Pittsburgh to see the Phillies take on the Pirates, all expenses paid, travel, hotel, pregame tailgate party, tickets, and more. All you got to do is be callers 6 and 7 when you hear the sounder coming up in about 7 minutes from now. And of course, you must be present this Friday at Yuri's in Wildwood, where Mike Gill and Sports Bash will be broadcasting live from 2 to 6 p.m. All right. Couple more things before we get out of here. First of all, a little victory lap for the show here. If you were listening yesterday, you took my advice. We got some of the picks right. We didn't get Adley Rushman, even though that was a crazy duel between him and Luis Roberts. He lost 28-27, but I did tell you guys to roll with Randy Arozarena. He got to the finals. I told you guys to stay away from Mookie Betts. He lost. I told you guys to look into Julio Rodriguez beating Pete Alonso. And I told you about Vlad Guerrero winning it all. So definitely some winners there we gave you last night. I got nothing for you tonight, though. So if you didn't take the picks last night, sorry, I got nothing for you tonight. I will tell you when it's a fool's errand, and this is a fool's errand tonight. Stay away from all-star games in general. All-star games are one of the 3 greatest ways to lose money on planet Earth. You probably have a better chance, or maybe the same chance. I don't know. It's like, to me, playing the lottery. Like the person who tries to predict who's going to, I mean, you might have a better chance of predicting the MVP than the lottery, but in general, it's a losing cause. You know, it's not a good idea. You know, MVP, who hits the first home run, over under on strikeouts. Yeah, that just stay away. Just stay away from that. All-Star game coming up in about 10 minutes here on 97.3 ESPN coverage via ESPN Radio. I will not be as invested in the All-Star game as I was last night. Look, I'm a big fan of the Home Run Derby. I told you guys yesterday, I think the Home Run Derby is one of the most entertaining events in sports. And I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of, you know, just going out there, letting the guys have fun, show their personality, blast a bunch of home runs, let the fans in the crowd, you know, get all into it. Why not? You have a little fun with it. Before we get out of here, I did want to hit on this Pat Fitzgerald situation with Northwestern, because you guys know, have listened to me long enough on 97.3 ESPN. I am a big college football fan. And I got to tell you, this Pat Fitzgerald thing is extremely concerning on a couple different levels. Because number one, for those who don't know the whole story, so there were accusations that came down against Fitzgerald and the Northwestern football program a while ago. Okay? This wasn't something that just happened recently. Well, the university started an investigation, and they never released all the details of the investigation, okay, until Friday. They released a summary which found no evidence that Fitzgerald or any of the coaches knew of the hazing incident in question. But they noted they had opportunity to identify problems, and they should have reported problems that could have led to the hazing stopping. Now, the reason why the hazing is even a topic of discussion is because the hazing was more than just, putting whipped cream in somebody's hair or, swapping out a guy's uniform or something. Apparently, the type of hazing that was going on was what would qualify as sexual harassment and borderline sexual assault. And so Fitzgerald was fired last night, a guy who was an alum of the program, a guy who was considered an example in college football of how to run a football program at a school that is not known for football. And if you read Fitzgerald's statement, it sounds like a lawsuit is coming because this guy a couple of years ago just signed a big contract. And now they're firing him for something he is not directly responsible for or involved in. Look, I understand a college football head coach is supposed to know what's going on in his program, but if there is a group of hazing incidents that involve nudity and sexual acts of a degrading nature, as what was described by the University of Northwestern, that was their verbiage, not mine. If that's what was going on and the head coach didn't know about it, I mean, that in of itself is problematic. How can something that excessive, that grotesque, and that unnecessary even happen and the head coach not be in a position to know about it or stop it? That's almost as bad as if he was involved. So, Northwestern obviously has a culture problem. And the fact that there were people who were okay with this type of, activity. I'm trying to watch my words because I don't want to mischaracterize anything with this as somebody who I try to be responsible with my words on a microphone, unlike some people in this business who say whatever they want and they never, no one ever calls them out for it. I don't want to be that kind of person. I have a lot of concerns about college football if hazing like this is going on because it's unacceptable and it's despicable and disgusting. But we also have another problem where a head coach gets fired for something he was not responsible for. And instead of us prosecuting the people who, who did the acts of hazing, or firing a head coach for guilt by association. And now he's going to sue the school. He's going to get all of his money because they fired him without cause because they can argue in a court that he wasn't responsible for this. Absolute dumpster fire at Northwestern. All right, that's the final sounder for the contest is today. This is your final chance. Caller 6 and 7. Call right now. 609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. Caller 6 and 7. This is your final opportunity to qualify the Phillies trip. All expenses paid. You and a friend get to go on a road trip to Pittsburgh where the Phillies take on the Pittsburgh Pirates at the end of this month. All expenses paid. Travel, hotel, pregame tailgate party, all that and more. You get to go. You get to call 6 and 7 at 609-573-3776. And then we'll see you at Yuri's in Wildwood with Mike Jones Sports Batch this Friday. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. I'll catch you tomorrow.
Health update with
1979 in the Kingdom.
Line drive, right field. We may have a play at the plate. Here comes Downing. Here's the throw. He knocked him off the plate. What a time by Carter.
To 2001.